Thanks so much for being here. Not to induce any anxiety today, but there's 43 days left until the man burns. My name is Christopher Breedlove. I am Burning Man's Director of Civic Activation. And today I'm calling in from my home in Topanga, California, which is the original lands of the Chumash and the Tavunga people. The Burning Man office is located in San Francisco, the original lands of the Ohlone, and then Black Rock City obviously happens in the Black Rock Desert, the original lands of the Numu or the Northern Paiute people. So today we're here to discuss the Sustainability Year 4 update, which is really exciting because 4 years ago yesterday, July 20th, Burning Man published the 2030 roadmap. And in the 2030 roadmap, we had over 60 authors come together to create a roadmap towards Burning Man's sustainability future. In that roadmap, we ended up outlining 3 goals. Number 1 being no matter out of place. Number 2, to be regenerative. And number 3, to be carbon negative. With a meta goal to, by the end of the next decade, we want it to be better for the ecology of Earth for Burning Man to exist than to not exist. So those are some pretty big goals. And the reason we end up doing these yearly reports is to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable, that we are being transparent about our work, and also to invite in collaboration from the larger community, because we know that we can't reach these big, audacious goals without you. You know, a lot of times people like to say that Burning Man Project and our community is a collection of some of the most creative and collaborative people in the world. And I think one of the things we get to really look at is that if we hold that true about ourselves, what happens when we start to look at some of the biggest issues that are happening in the world? And so Burning Man tackling its own sustainability goals is really on a road to that. So today's call is going to go in a series of concentric circles. We're going to be kind of looking at zones of influence that Burning Man has, which is going to start with Black Rock City, is going to move out to our participants, and then finally out to the larger ecosystem of Northern Nevada itself. And so we're just going to get right to it because we have a lot of amazing speakers today. So I am honored to hand it off to Laura Day, our Associate Director of Black Rock City Operations. Laura, tell us what's going on in Black Rock City.
Gladly. Thank you, Breedlove. It's so nice to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Day, Associate Director of Operations here at Burning Man Project. Boy, what an honor to be here alongside so many incredible humans sharing so much interesting work that's been happening, supporting our planet and each other. And I'm here to share just a little background about the sustainability efforts in Black Rock City over time, and bring us to the incredible moment of change we find ourselves embracing today. The environmental impact of Black Rock City has been a topic of conversation for decades. I know for me and many others in my world that we've shared our deep feelings of kind of existential guilt about the environmental impact of this and many other events. It's a lot to contend with. And in some cases, folks have chosen not to participate as a result. And to be honest, I couldn't blame them up until recently. Because now we're seeing a huge opportunity for this community to redefine what it means to be a burner and shout through our very loud loudspeaker that we need to focus our collective creativity towards building a sustainable city. And it's happening. It's a really great time to be an environmentally conscious burner as we get to lead the charge to ensure Burning Man can continue to play along the edges of survival. Larry said all real communities grow out of a shared confrontation with survival. Communities are not produced by sentiment or mere goodwill. They grow out of a shared struggle. Our situation in the desert is an incubator for community. Now, I would say that it's an incubator for far more than that. A variety of efforts have sprouted from a deep sense of responsibility over the years. Recycle Camp collects cans and turns them into donations for the Gerlach schools. We divert as many waste streams as possible from our internal operations and commissary, including compost. Just ask Mr. Blue and he'll tell you all about it. The Leave No Trace principle was born alongside the other 9 in 2004. The Earth Guardians educate Black Rock citizens to leave no trace. Playa restoration grew from the necessity of keeping the playa pristine in order to meet the stipulations of our permit by the BLM, very important, and DA masterfully developed this into the MOOP map in 2006, which has become a cultural mainstay to measure our success. In true Burning Man fashion, the community shares the responsibility for upholding this and all principles building our city, and cleaning up afterwards so it fully disappears. We've always done a lot, but it comes to term that a lot isn't enough. After the roadmap was published, thanks to a lot of effort by a lot of humans and led by Matt Sundquist, we established a number of internal teams to begin strategizing and working on how we plan to execute on these goals. A lot of great work came out of the 2 years out of time during the pandemic, and we all know that diesel generators still make up the lion's share of power on Playa. And we also know from our emissions inventory, thanks to Marnee and the Travel Naked team, that over 90% of the emissions stemming from the event are generated from travel of people and all their stuff to and from Playa. When we committed to the goals of the roadmap mentioned by Breedlove, this sense of responsibility evolved into fierce urgency as the climate crisis we now face as a species has reached a critical tipping point. These are some of the most audacious and progressive goals ever put forth by any organization. And it's happening. It's happening within our infrastructure, as you'll learn shortly about our solar programs. It's happening within our community, as you'll hear from some of the green theme camps. It's happening within art projects, as Katie Hazard will share more around those. It's happening around the world with the regional events. You're about to learn all about the many efforts that are underway so that it's truly better for the earth for Burning Man to exist than not to. In April of 2021, we established our very first full-time sustainability role within Burning Man Project. That's Stephen Chun, ladies and gentlemen, Sustainability Project Manager. And now we have a whole team of humans working on sustainable infrastructure, getting Black Rock City off of fossil fuels, and supporting the Green Theme Camp community. Our audacious goals went from being lofty and unrealistic to actionable and possible. After the 2-year pandemic pause, which had the silver lining of affording us the time to really plan how we would execute the roadmap, last year was the first opportunity to actualize these ideas. We prototyped solar systems on Playa, compost programs, and a whole lot more that you're going to hear about soon. I'm not going to steal anyone's thunder. We established a sustainability ticket program to support community initiatives to employ green technologies and camps that we're exploring how to scale. We're bringing green camps together into a green corridor, which you'll hear more about in a moment, bringing green camp experience to the participants to learn and see these technologies in action and for these camps to connect and learn from one another. Now, the end goal here is for these things to expand across the entire city and become how the city operates, to imbue a sustainable aspect to the culture that governs and inspires itself, as it does in Black Rock City. Burners have always pushed the envelope of ingenuity and creativity, which is exactly what the planet needs from us now. This can happen, and it's definitely going to take us all. Behavioral change is what results in the evolution and adoption of culture, and who better to change culture than burners? With that, I am thrilled and proud to introduce you to one of the newest members of the sustainability team who is laser focused on getting Black Rock City off of fossil fuels once and for all, and has become a dear friend and beloved colleague. So with that, I'm going to welcome George Reed, aka Gremlin, to share more about taking Black Rock City off of fossil fuels.
Sure. Thank you, Laura. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Tell me if you guys can see that. Is it working? Can't see a thumbs up, but I'm assuming yes. So thank you for the warm introduction, Laura. I'm George Reed, otherwise known on the radio as Gremlin. I've been burning for over a decade and just recently celebrated my 1-year anniversary here at the Burning Man Project. I serve as an associate director, overseeing our efforts to get Black Rock City and our Northern Nevada properties off of fossil fuels, as well as help lead some of our internal net zero Black Rock City working groups, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Just taking a step back, we sit here today on the tail end of one of, if not literally, the hottest week in all of recorded human history on planet Earth. At this time, we're really encouraging our community to evolve our thinking and culture around the leave no trace principle and the impact of our greenhouse gas emissions, and include this as a concept of invisible MOOP. Just because we can't see or touch this invisible matter that we release on Playa and quite frankly in all of our daily activities doesn't mean that it's not matter out of place. And the impacts of this particular MOOP are existential. The hope here, and the reason that I am sitting here today, is that I personally believe that the solutions that will come out of this uniquely innovative, creative, and inspirational community in the coming years has the potential to be truly transformative to the world in this area. getting down and dirty to what we're actually doing here as an organization, I've seen some comments asking what we're doing. This year, we really took a hard look inward. We're focusing on cleaning up our own house. We're building off the work of a 2019 emissions inventory report put together by Marnee, Benson, and her team, and developing an ongoing framework of CO2 equivalent emission reporting to measure the impact of our contribution to the disruption of the natural carbon life cycle, and serve as a baseline measurement going forward to identify where we can have the most impact and track our progress annually. This is a collaborative thing, by the way. This is also for us, but we're going to be looking to collect data and report back and include participant emissions in this work. So we hope you all participate. As Laura alluded to, we now have a full-time staff working on this, and I just wanted to highlight 3 people here today. Stephen Chun, our Sustainability Project Manager, Liza Welsh, our Nevada Operations Planning Coordinator, and recently joining is Jenica Anderson, our Off-Fossil Fuels Analyst. So I want to thank you guys for your hard work here. We've got 2 primary working groups that we developed this year. We call the first one, we call Team Alpha. And this is a group of humans who have each individually committed within their scope to our goal of net zero by 2030 on Black Rock City, on our way to being carbon negative. These are the people that run the city, build the city, DPW, power, utilities, heat, solar, services, you name it. And they've really been looking at our operations and where we can effectuate change. Just to highlight a couple things that this group is working on. Starchild and his crew, they're building 4 new mid to larger sized portable solar assets. And that brings our fleet to 8 for this year that you'll see around the city. We've been upgrading our 60 mobile solar trailers, which we call the Scarabs. You'll see those running around powering our build operations as well as all around Playa. One of the most exciting things, and I won't steal her thunder, the hotspot will speak after me, but she'll talk about one of our most impactful efforts around our grid efficiency and technological implementation there. We've increased by 8x the amount of renewable fuel that we're going to bring on Playa to test in various equipment next year, with the hopes of rolling that out more broadly in the coming years. And as Laura alluded to, last year was the first year that the organization collected all of our organic waste from our operations. We actually sent it down to a composting facility outside of Sparks and brought it back up to our properties in Northern Nevada, ran a regenerative land project up at Fly, and helped support the beautification of our properties in the community up there in Gerlach. So really excited to see this kind of regenerative practices being put into play. Between us, we're confident at this point that within this scope of our operations on Black Rock City, that we can get to net zero by 2030. We're currently seeing pathways to get there sooner. So I'm really proud to be working with this group of people on this effort and the work that they're doing. The second group here I want to highlight is a group we call Team Beta. These folks are really here to support you. These are folks that are committed to support the participants getting to net zero by 2030. This includes groups like BWB, Placement, Art, Comms, OSS, Fly, Solar, Services. So these folks are really here to support you. Some of the things that we've been working on here, looking at bringing on OSS providers that can help provide more sustainable solutions for offerings for you guys. The first implementation of our Green Corridor, which is a group of sustainability committed camps living together in a neighborhood for the first time, sharing ideas and resources and prototyping new solutions. I'm sure probably some people on this call will be living there. You should come check them out. I believe they'll be around 4 o'clock on Playa. We're also looking ways we can support the organic growth and influence of our community contributors that have gone above and beyond, groups like RAT, Renewables for Artists Team, Green Theme Camp, Community Blast, and others. And we're also exploring year-round programming that can support these efforts to provide a platform for learning year-round. And kudos to Fly for being a great partner in those efforts. So if you recognize any of these names or faces, reach out to them. If there's ways we can help, these guys are on our team to support. I want to close here with a quick kind of call to action. What can you do? First of all, if you're on this call or otherwise watching this, you're already part of the solution. So thank you. Change here will be incremental and cultural. And the first step is just being present to these issues. Even if your camp doesn't have a formalized plan to go green this year, please think about just taking stock of your impact. In addition to a MOOP lead, appoint a sustainability lead. Take records on your generator use, your infrastructure, your fuel use, your water use, your transportation. Sign up for BLAST if you're looking for guidance there. They've got some really good frameworks to work within. If you are working on a project, please document it to the best of your ability. Keep records on your designs, what the materials are, how you put it together. Put things in a shareable format so that we can share the magic of the things that you guys are building out there. There's many participant-led groups that are already providing platforms to share this information. And in the coming years and months, as Laura alluded to, we're exploring the development of programs and platforms to help increase the interactivity and sharing of this stuff. So as well as programs to incentivize projects to help you guys be successful in implementation. So please share, please record. And if you're working on anything, let us know. Email us at sustainability@burningman.org so we can work together and supporting your efforts and being a beacon of hope in this area. For me personally, it's just an honor and privilege to serve the organization and the community in this position. And I'm really looking forward to working together here with you all. Change will not happen overnight, but we'll get there. We've got 7 years. I'm really looking forward to hearing more today, what everyone's up to, as well as what we're going to do together in the coming years. I'd like to now hand off the presentation to my colleagues, Kathleen-Curran, otherwise known as Hotspot. She's our DPW Utilities Superintendent, and she will give some more details on what will likely be the most impactful CO2 emission reduction project that we're implementing this year. So with that, Sean.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I am Hotspot and speaking to you from Gerlach. One of the facets of my job is implementing the infrastructure power grid. So for the last few years, we have been studying the power usage on our grids and collecting quite a lot of data. So this year, we're deploying a new infrastructure power grid design. So up to this point, we've been building centralized grids with large generators. And after a few years of studying power usage, we've taken into account a number of design factors that have led us to adopting an independent microgrid system. So those factors included efficiency, cost effectiveness, flexibility, simplicity, resilience, and adaptability. And so with that, we put out an RFP and we started, taking a look at new potential partners. And so this year we are partnering with a new power vendor, Sunbelt, who is very much in line with our sustainability goals. So with them, we are going to be deploying generators with inline batteries on many of our infrastructure grids. And this type of installation is going to allow the generators to turn off for a fair number of hours per day. And the assets on the grid will be able to draw down from the stored power in the batteries. So the battery sizes range from 30 kVA up to 60 kVA. And so when the generators do kick on, they're going to feed the grid directly, and then any excess power they create will feed into the batteries to charge them up. So we're going to experience a lot less power loss and see a significant fuel reduction on our power grids. So we did test this out successfully last year on a few grids, and we're making this big leap this year in expanding that to almost every generator grid within infrastructure. So those that we are not doing on solar, we're putting the batteries in line with the generators. So Sunbelt has really dedicated a lot of resources to helping us put this in place and to testing these batteries out in our very harsh environment. These batteries are still pretty new to the market. And Sunbelt's commitment to a net zero power grid has gone beyond that. And they've committed to purchasing carbon offsets to cover whatever amount of fuel we do burn in the power grid this season. So beyond this, we're also bringing a limited amount of renewable diesel to Black Rock City this year, as Gremlin mentioned, for use in the power grids and in heavy equipment. So the availability of this fuel is limited in our area, but we hope to expand the use of it in 2024. And we hope to see some of the California subsidy programs for this fuel roll out in Nevada in the future. And we will have updates on, once we put all of our studies together on how all of that rolled out this year, and be able to compare that with our fuel usage from previous years. So look forward to updating you guys on that as we move forward. Thank you. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Christopher Breedlove.
Thanks so much, Hotspot. You guys are doing so much work in this arena. I mean, it's really phenomenal, and I can't wait to see what the data shows on how much of a change that makes. And just thank you to Laura, Gremlin, and again, Hotspot. You guys are really holding down those Black Rock City operations, both in the city and year-round with Nevada operations. And I think it's a lot of the unseen work in our community, but it's going to make a huge impact to how people feel and experience Black Rock City. So I'm going to hand it over now to a friend and colleague and the instigator of the original roadmap, Matt Sundquist, our director of Fly Ranch.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. We originally were going to have Autumn Harry as one of our end speakers, but as is often the case, she's traveling and going to jump in earlier. So I'll introduce Autumn. Autumn is an educator, a fly fishing guide, a master's student in geography, a community organizer, an artist, and many, many other things. She and her mom, Beverly, have both been involved with the Fly Ranch Design Challenge that we've done that you'll hear a little more about later. She is a leader and someone who I really look up to and have learned a lot from. We're on Numu land, and so I really respect her knowledge of what we're trying to learn about, and have just really benefited from everything that she's taught me and taught us. And she's going to share a few words about what she thinks that we should be learning about. Autumn.
Thank you, Matt. Haumu no Autumn Harry Minani no kuyui papa another way no kuyui takata a guy takata didn't know. As Matt said, my name is Autumn Harry. I'm a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe, and I've been living on the Pyramid Lake Paiute reservation my entire life in Nixon. And so over the years, I've seen the impacts of Burning Man and also some of the changes that have taken place. I'm currently calling in from Navajo, Ute, Zuni, and Hopi homelands near the Bears Ears area in Utah. And, even on this trip, just kind of seeing the changes to the landscape with this high water year that we had this past winter. It's something that we're always thinking about. And for those who haven't been to the Black Rock since last year's event, we received a lot of snow within the Sierra Nevada mountain range. And that's really good for us because we're at the terminal end of the Truckee River watershed at Pyramid Lake. And we rely on all of that water, snow melt, precipitation from the Sierra Nevada range and Lake Tahoe to flow down to our communities at Pyramid Lake. And we're really fortunate to have had a really high water year, but also, people tend to, I think a lot of scientists tend to say like, oh, we're out of the drought now, like the drought's over. And I think many of us know that's not the case. And we may have had a high water year this year, but next year could be totally different. And so right now we're just really thankful for all of the water that we've received. And I think the fish are going to be really happy this coming winter and spring. And as Matt said, I'm a fishing guide out at Pyramid Lake, and so a lot of the work that myself, my mom, my community are involved with is the protection of water. And within, Burning Man, I kind of wanted to just use this time to talk about some of the concerns that we have, not necessarily with the Burning Man event, but also just kind of what's happening around the landscape within the Great Basin. There's a lot of lithium mines that are popping up throughout the state of Nevada, and there are currently 20,000 lithium mine claims, over 20,000 lithium mine claims. And so that's a big concern for us because this is all taking place on Numu and Western Shoshone homelands. And there's kind of this conversation that's been happening for a while about shifting away from fossil fuels into green energy, but we also have to really be critical about the green energy sources and the desecration that happens when you're building infrastructure like a lithium mine, and thinking about whose homelands are being impacted when there's a push for a lithium mine claim. And so that's kind of what some of our big concerns about. And currently there's Surge Battery Metals. They have a claim in the San Emilio Basin, which is just west of Empire. So just west of the Black Rock Desert. And I heard that there's another one that recently that popped up, I forget which basin, but it's just east of the Black Rock Desert. And so I'm really hoping that, with this increased lithium mining, that folks within the Burning Man community are also having these conversations too, and that we can continue to develop these relationships and connections to gain support from you all, because there are a lot of Native people who are taking a stance against lithium mining. And maybe some of you have heard about Thacker Pass, which is a little northeast of the Black Rock Desert, and that's been a lithium mine that's received a lot of attention. But there's these other ones, like I said, that are popping up that we're concerned about, that are really close to Pyramid Lake. And the one in San Emilio is only 12 miles north of the actual lake. And so when we're talking about protection of water and sustainability, I want to just really, just note that importance. And we have to be really critical about green energy and where we're getting the energy from and whose homelands are desecrated in that process. And I will say that this is my third time being on one of these sustainability calls, and a lot of the work that I'm doing is around education, especially educating people who's when they're visiting Paiute, Numu homelands, to remind them of our deep connection to these basins, to the water, to the fish species that are present and that our people have taken care of for thousands of years. And so I just want to say I have noticed a shift of more and more people from the Burning Man community educating themselves on Paiute homelands and trying to learn more and be better visitors while they're visiting and while they're here. And so I'm really thankful for that. I think we need to continue that education to the broader Burning Man community and making sure that everyone is being respectful and being considerate and caring while they're traveling through and visiting Numu homelands. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Autumn. I know that I continually get to learn from you, as well as your mother, Beverly, every time you come and collaborate and speak with us. So thank you so much. And I feel like the two things I'm really pulling from what you shared is that, every solution is a new problem. And so whatever solution we're running to, we need to be really aware of what those downstream effects can be. And then also just really thanking you for bringing in the importance of water. All of us who are in Black Rock City for a week, we know how important water is, but you're out there all year round, so you're even more acutely aware. And just a real quick shout out too, that if you're traveling to Black Rock City this year, make sure you make a moment to stop at the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribal Museum. It's right there in Nixon, and it's a great place to get educated and to learn more. All right, and so now we're going to kind of transition out here, and we really kind of started in kind of Black Rock City operations, and we're going to zoom out to another circle. And we're going to look at the ways that participants tend to engage with Burning Man by talking to some of the teams and the leaders who really help burners come in and share their gifts. So I am excited to hand this off to Katie Hazard, our Associate Director of Art Management, because what is Burning Man if not a place to experiment with daring and audacious art?
That's right, Breedlove. Thank you so much. My name is Katie Hazard. I'm really happy to be here today. Like he said, I'm the head of the art department, and we have about 375 art projects coming this year, which I'm super excited about. And I want to share with you a little bit about what the art department and also artists are doing to advance our 2030 sustainability goals. So I'm just going to share my screen here. And great. So how does art fit into the puzzle? What are we seeing, and what are we doing? So first of all, I wanted to share about our honoraria program, which is the grant program for artwork at Burning Man. We have a 1.3 million annual budget for that, and we fund 73 projects we have this year. And in 2022, we started really prioritizing funding projects that were thinking about sustainability and really making a significant effort toward that. So I'm excited to say that in 2023, 35% of the projects that we're funding are, and we rigorously count like what counts as, making a significant effort. So we've got things like, it has to have several major things like power, materials, the transport, the concept. So by our choosing to fund projects that are making this significant effort towards sustainability, we're really showing that that's our priority. There's the project that's imaged, it's featured here in this image is called the Ursas by Jen Lewin. That small bear was there last year, you may remember. This year, that's Ursa Minor. This year, she's bringing Ursa Major, also made out of recycled materials, hand collected from oceans. This larger bear has, it's all, let's see, inside it's all kind of infinity mirrors. And within each one is a drawing of some animal that has gone extinct just in the last 12 months, which I feel like is so impactful. I mean, just imagine going in there and seeing what that looks like to really feel what a crisis this truly is. So anyway, that's one of the projects that we're funding this year. And along with the honoraria program, we have 300 plus registered artists who don't receive funding from Burning Man, but who are also really furthering the sustainability goals. As part of our registration program, we ask artists to tell us how their work is supporting the sustainability goals. And I'm excited to share that 63% of the artists coming this year are working towards achieving these sustainability goals through all sorts of ways, through buying local and, using upcycled or reclaimed materials, thinking about transport solutions, thinking about what to do afterwards, finding ways to donate their materials. And, artists are creative and inspired to experiment. So it's very cool to see all the things they're up to. But yeah, 63%, I think that's phenomenal. And one little thing to highlight is solar. I know that George talked about this a little bit, but it's one of the most evident ways that we see artists evolving in this direction. So there are the scarabs that George mentioned, the solar units that are powering about a dozen projects this year. Both the Man and the Temple are fully powered by solar this year, which is such an exciting step. I'm really pleased about that one. We have a great project called the Solar Library that first came in 2022. This year they're back and making it bigger. They foresee ongoing with it, but it was built by some artists after they tried solar on their own project and had a lot of struggles with it. And they thought this could be an easier way to help other artists. So they make this structure. It has separate units in them, and each unit has a self-contained solar charging station. So other art projects are supported by this. They get a kind of library card, and they still buy their own battery, but they can go in and swap it out of this every day. So I'm excited to see how that keeps growing year over year. And then the Renewables for Artists team, aka RAT, we're several years into that. They provide really great training and mentoring about using solar. And so artists, in that case, artists provide their own system, and RAT serves as technical advisors and both pre-event and on playa. And they are supporting 19 projects this year. So that's exciting too. And then something that, we hear frequently is, how can Burning Man think about sustainability when we're still burning structures? And, what I want to share is that when we did an emissions study not too long ago, that art burns account for about 5% of all carbon emissions, including offsite stuff. So, which I was surprised by that. I mean, it's less than you would think. And at the same time, we're still making quite an effort to think about how that burning happens. We have a committee now that will review and decide who gets to burn. People used to just be able to say, I want to burn it, and that would happen. And now there's a whole application process. And, we want to make sure people are doing it for the right reasons, that they, that it fits conceptually with the project. And it's not just that, they don't want to bring it home with them. So this year we have 13 projects burning, including the Man in the Temple. That's down from 15 that we had last year. We had 21 apply to burn this year, and we selected 13. And of those 13, 5 of them are a reveal kind of project where a portion of the artwork burns and not all of it. So there's, generally fewer emissions on that. Of the 2 pictured here on the left, we have Ascension. That's a memorial built by some friends whose campmate unexpectedly passed away. And then the small heart on the right-hand side is one of those reveals. Oops, sorry about that. That has a butterfly inside, a metal butterfly. So the wood will burn and the rest will pass away. And lastly, if you're curious about learning how to start incorporating solar into your art or another program, there is a great course on Hive that Renewables, that RAT presented, that's Solar Power 101. So we could put the link to that in the chat. And I wanted to share that, of these 35% of honoraria and 67% of all the projects focusing on solar, of all of them, we picked one that we wanted to invite here today to share more with you about their project. It's a great example of one that's focusing on sustainability, both conceptually and practically. It's a really cool piece. It's called LAKA'LELUP, Coming Together for a Common Purpose. And we have the lead artist, Mia Hanak of Millennium Art, here with us today. Just to tell you a little bit about Mia, she's got 22 years of experience as an executive director, creative director, curator, and has done a lot of work with environmental art and climate activism. She has been conceptualizing and producing large-scale public art installations in partnership with the United Nations in cities worldwide since 2005. And she currently serves on the Public Art Committee in Missoula, Montana. She's the founder and executive director of the Millennium Art International. And we're so excited to have you here today to share more with us. Mia, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me and inviting me to be on this panel. We're extremely grateful to be selected as an honoraria art project for Burning Man 2023 Animalia. And I'm really appreciative that he selected us to participate in this opportunity to briefly discuss how our environmental art project, LAKA'LELUP, can contribute to Burning Man's goal of becoming ecologically sustainable by 2030, going net zero. So LAKA'LELUP is a Washoe term meaning coming together for a common purpose. And we actually worked with the Washoe tribe who named this art installation for us. And it's very important for us in return and our responsibility to implement this philosophy that's integral to their belief system, which is the land, the water, and the people are one. And with LAKA'LELUP, our common purpose is protecting our common home, planet Earth. And this art installation has 2 modes. So by day, we have a reflect mode, which you could kind of see behind me, but I'll show you a clip in a second. And at night, it transitions to illuminate mode. So we do have a sound system, an LED system, which does take a power draw. We welded a steel infrastructure. It has 140 steel hexagons that are 4 foot in diameter, and the whole installation is about 40 feet long by 16 feet high by 14 feet wide. So, when we're looking at the impact, both the carbon footprint of the creation and the power and the welding and transportation of this, as well as the power draw on the playa, we have been exploring options of how can we sustainably power this. So I'm just going to show you a quick video clip. So the two exterior walls have a custom design LED system, and we have a custom design sound system. And we'll be running an audiovisual experience at night that shows climate data visualizations from Lake Tahoe and wildlife on the Animalia theme from the Lake Tahoe Basin. So if you give me a sec, I'll show you what we're talking about before I shift into the power draw. Okay. And you should hear audio. Let's see. So that's a mini clip. If you'd want to see more, you could visit our website at LAKA'LELUP.art. But anyhow, so to power this, you know, we did the calculations for our custom design LED system, which actually sits on the hexagons behind the two-way acrylic mirror and then actually illuminates through it at night. So with that, we've determined our continuous power draw is about 10 kilowatts and at peak 15 kilowatts. And in total, we're running it 11 hours a day for about 8 days, including 2 nights of testing. So that's 96 hours, that's 190 kilowatts an hour. And our generator sizing for that is 20 kilowatt generator. I thought it would be easy for what I thought was a low power draw to sustainably power this. We found out with solar, the max we could do is have a solar array to power our sound system, which is 5 kilowatts. And so we'll be powering an ambient soundscape during the day by that. But at night, I said, you know, how is it possible after 22 years of doing environmental art, I'm in 2023 and I can't power an art installation with solar or wind or biodiesel for something of this scale. And this led me to working with Chip Commons. He's founder of the American Renewable Energy Institute, and RDAY, who has an amazing network of renewable energy and clean tech experts. So they've been advising us on some of the available solutions, and we're working on implementing that this year as at least an initial step to what's possible in 2024. I know some of you mentioned earlier with biofuels and stuff like this and solar, there will be more options in the future. But with the nature of our art installation, it just goes against the grain to power it with a diesel generator. So the good news is solutions exist, but you know, are they being implemented fast enough for us to reach the 2030 goals? Some of the solutions we've been exploring, obviously there's solar, electric, lithium ion batteries, there's hydrogen fuel cells that have greater energy storage, different biofuels, including the pyrolysis, thermal decomposition process, turning microplastics and algae into biofuels. And then what's most realistic on the short-term scale is renewable diesel, which is the alternative fuel for petroleum diesel, which could be used in existing infrastructure, engines, and generators without having to make many modifications. It's called drop-in biofuels, which is liquid biohydrocarbon, and it could reduce CO2 emissions by 60 to 80%. So as an initial step, that is our goal of what we're trying to do with LAKA'LELUP for 2023. We're also tracking all of our carbon footprints from the power it took to weld the infrastructure, from shipping and transporting multiple trucks with our art installation from Missoula, Montana to Black Rock City. And we're working with Climate Smart Missoula, and they have a community footprint fund, which is great because that brings offsetting back into the community based projects. So while we're working on this, you know, I put a lot of thought into this, and my epiphany is that Burning Man artists are creators, not consumers. and especially shouldn't be consumers of fossil fuels. So, you know, with Burning Man believing in radical inclusion, radical self-reliance, and radical expression, I think we have to have a radical shift and add radical sustainability as one of the principles. So that way by 2030, we could reach Burning Man's goal of becoming ecologically sustainable and potentially become Saving Man instead of Burning Man. And if you'd like to support us in changing the world one art installation at a time, you could follow us at LAKA'LELUP.art to support our fundraising goal so we could achieve our sustainability goal in 2023 and beyond. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mia. And I really appreciate you bringing in that word radical. You know, the etymology of that word actually means to the root. So I think one of the things you're asking is, can Burning Man to the root become sustainable, which I think is part of this goal. And I really want to thank you too for leading the charge on this, because we know that one of the effects of art is to induce awe and wonder. And if we're really trying to change culture, what better way to bring that messaging than through wonder and awe? So thanks so much. All right, now we're going to move over to another big base of Burning Man participation, because we know that if you're living in Black Rock City, you're living in the city. And so that also means that most of our participants are living in camps. So it's a huge place where we can really start to look at this work. So I am excited to bring up Level, our Associate Director of Placement and City Planning, to tell us what's going on with the participants in the camp land.
Thank you, Christopher. Hello, burners. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are, or evening even. Just as a quick poll, I know people are introducing kind of where you're tuning in from, but if you're a member of a camp in Black Rock City, whether that's a theme camp or some other type of camp, please just put that in chat. I'd love to hear who's in the audience. There's like over 200 people on this call right now. I'm really delighted to share some great facts, like my colleague Katie, about camps in Black Rock City. So I'm going to do a quick sort of run through about what is going on from like the 10,000 foot view, and give you some general stats about what we're seeing across the board. It's exciting because many people want to be more green, try renewable energy, do more waste sort of compost and reuse. And so I'll share that right now. So give me a second to pull up the slides. And here we go. Ooh, not the slide that I wanted to share yet. Sorry. It started a little earlier. There we go. Okay. So how many camps are there? How many theme camps are there in Black Rock City? There are 1,257 this year. That is one of the highest that we've seen. 2022 was the highest of all years in Black Rock City, and this year we're kind of a little short of that, but pretty high overall. That's a lot of people. We place about 90% of Black Rock City, and so I know that form is very long for people to fill out. Thank you all for doing that, but it does provide us this information that we can feed back into our information loop. How many camps are working towards a sustainability roadmap? That's been referenced a few times in our 10-year goal. 53% of Black Rock City's theme camps this year, at 671, have said they're doing something. So we'll go into a little bit more about what that is. That's 74 more camps than in 2022, which is exciting. To me, that means that people are reading the pledge more and actually thinking about how they can tweak how they burn so it can be more green. Looks like 69% of Black Rock City, 868 camps are sorting their waste into composting. That's really exciting. There's one camp in particular, ID8, that is hosting a composting program in Black Rock City. If you're signed up for the placement newsletter, we've shared how to sign up for that. And I know they are looking for other host sites. So if your camp is interested in being a drop-off point for compost, you are welcome to email placement@burningman.org, and we're happy to connect you to ID8's program. So especially if you're kind of on the 3 o'clock side of the city or the 9 o'clock side of the city, there's definite interest in getting more host camps to have a dumpster or some sort of receptacle to take other camps' compost. How many camps are interested in greener power? That's 62% at 782 camps. About 2/3 of Black Rock City is interested in greener power. That isn't just all solar. There are also alternative fuels. There's wind energy. There's human-powered energy. I love those people and camps that have bikes, cranks that run blenders. That kind of thing is really ingenious and helpful. And we started a new program in 2022 called Humans Uniting for Better Sustainability. Placement, if you've been through the process year after year, generally we don't, we're limited by how much we can guarantee you placement next to people that you want to be with. So what we tried to do was create a new program, and looks like 1 out of 5 camps in Black Rock City is in a hub. That means that you specifically requested to camp together. You're sharing a power grid, you're sharing transportation, you're sharing storage, things like that. I really want to put our money where the mouth is, and actually support camps to resource share and have economies of scale. So that's really exciting. That's definitely an increase from last year. I mentioned alternative power earlier. So there was over 600 camps interested in alternative power. We actually have 43% of the city who've told us that they are actually using alternative power. So that's super exciting at 539 camps. Oops. And in 2022, we also started a new program to help support camps that were really dedicated to and uplifting our sustainability commitments. So even though folks were saying, I'm interested, we tried to look at what exactly camps were doing. Were they carpooling more? Were they really looking at renewable energy? Were they actually just reducing their need for energy? That's also a big one. It's not just about replacing gas for batteries, but maybe you just don't need so much stuff. That's also helpful for the earth. So we had 750 tickets that went out to 239 camps, and that hopefully gets people more able to bring their projects out to Black Rock City. So that's all the stats I've got today. I'm really excited to also just dive deeper with our guest speaker today from a camp called SOLARPUNKS, Xtina. They are a second-year camp. They started for the first time last year, and they were interested in trying out a community power grid. And that power grid is something that they'll tell you more about. They also were 100% renewable energy and run by all of that. So Xtina, why don't you take it from here and tell everyone about your experiments.
Hi, thanks so much, Lovell. Okay, so SOLARPUNKS is born out of this existential tension that I think most people here on this call probably struggle with. On one hand, we're really privileged as burners to be able to come together to celebrate, which is absolutely fundamental to the human experience. But on the other hand, time is running out when you get our shit together as a human species. So there's no need to preach to the choir here, but a quick reminder, they have 10 years left to move away from our existing fossil fuel paradigm before tens of millions of our most vulnerable suffer, coral reef systems collapse, and more. So knowing that eliminating fossil fuels is paramount to our collective survival, we had to ask ourselves, can we ditch fossil fuels in our own sphere of influence, including Burning Man? So we really decided to lean into the civic experimentation here and expand upon 3 Burning Man principles in our specific experiment to ditch fossil fuels. While there's transportation to consider, we constrained our civic experiment to eliminating fossil fuels on the playa itself for our first year, as we only had 7 weeks to produce this camp. So the first principle of leave no trace, that's where we look to apply this concept of electrification, which many of you are already familiar with. In a nutshell, that means replacing fossil fuel machines ASAP with electric counterparts. This would reduce the energy we currently need by half because electrified machines are inherently more efficient than fossil fuel-based ones. So much of fossil fuel energy is lost due to heat, like about 60%. You need to extract even more fossil fuels, which is unsustainable. We can't regenerate fossil fuels fast enough to keep up with our current rate of consumption. Instead of fossil fuels, we could triple our current renewable energy generation using technology that already exists to create a sustainable system where we don't have to give up our current lifestyles. Second principle is radical self-reliance, which applies to the concept of generating our own renewable energy. This would allow us to move away from relying entirely on this highly monolithic petrol industrial complex to a more distributed network of power generation. The third principle is communal effort. Communities can actually aggregate resources to be renewable energy generators. Since renewable energy is highly localized, you can't outsource these jobs. Money stays circulating within communities, which can be used for education or welfare instead of going out to fossil fuel companies. There was 5 oil and gas companies alone that made over $200 billion last year. Community microgrids can be a viable path to help reduce this wealth stratification. So going back to Burning Man, we decided to see if we could fully ditch fossil fuel generators by applying these principles and run a week-long camp of 50 people, including air conditioning, fully off of renewable energy. So we got a bunch of batteries and inverters and solar panels and ended up crafting this microgrid with a 50 kilowatt array and about 250 kilowatt hours of battery storage. While there were so many challenges we ran into, our power actually never went down. We even had extra power for art support and e-bikes from our neighbors. We actually published an energy study, which you can find on our website here, to help other burners ditch fossil fuel generators. And we purposefully used consumer grade gear to create a modular system that could scale up or down based on each individual burner or camp's needs. So from this project, we learned that the biggest barrier facing the renewable energy transition, both on Playa and off Playa, is really the higher upfront capital compared to fossil fuels. But after this initial investment, photons and wind are free. And it's cheaper than fossil fuel generation when you look at it over a multi-year span versus just like a 1-year increment. So to scale this at Burning Man and beyond, we've identified 3 vectors from our perspective. First is political and financial engineering. Some theme camps are spending over $1 million per day, others charging $50,000 camp dues at minimum. There's no shame in that. It's honestly great that we have burners that are highly resourced. To put things into perspective, the camp dues from 4 members of some of these camps at the lowest price tier could pay for our energy system of our size, which supported about 50 people. So how to incentivize better resource burners to invest in communal and evergreen infrastructure? One additional vector to unlock this incentivization includes the ability to participate in collective multi-year planning, especially on a theme camp level. Theme camps are critical to creating a distributed network of renewable energy on Playa, yet we're used to a year-by-year existence, which inhibits long-term investments. To justify longer-term investments, we also need default world coordination. Batteries, inverters, and panels shouldn't just sit around collecting dust in between burns. It's really important that we find ways to increase the utilization factor. Utilization factor. So in the spirit of a more default world activation, we use the gear to create what we're calling our creative community microgrid. Sorry about that, here in Los Angeles. This helps us power projects with art, music, and film leaders that further educates others on Burning Man and electrification. And these projects also help us give pro bono batteries and inverters with free photons for artists, filmmakers, and independent music promoters. The grid and gear also enable us to create these fully solar-powered gatherings that bring burners together with relevant default world stakeholders like civic, brand, and sustainability leaders to promote Burning Man principles of leave no trace and communal effort. Our last gathering included guests ranging from the VP of Sustainability at Disney to like upcycled fashion artisans. This year, we're actually taking it off as a theme camp to focus on firming up a creative community microgrid model that will enable us to power both on and off Playa efforts with renewable energy while still offering free gear to creatives. So similar to how like other camps might fundraise by promoting parties in the default world, consider this an additional approach to decrease the financial barrier of the burn. We're hoping our proof of concept in LA will be scalable for other theme camps once we can prove viability here. We're still participating in the burn this year by offering free solar-powered gear to Burning Man artists, which are still available. So hit us up to collaborate. All types of skill sets are fully welcome here and required to move away from our fossil fuel paradigm. We have SOLARPUNKS that are distributed energy market experts that support us on this model. And we also have like native plant, just people that are passionate about it, that are educating people about invasives at our solar-powered gatherings. So yeah, let's ditch fossil fuels together. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Xtina. And, I want to say that not only are you leading the way in kind of showing how these camps can be done on renewables, but I think that your efforts to utilize your infrastructure year round is also a huge part of this effort, because we can't just buy solar panels and then put them in a container for a year. So really appreciate you using those year round with other artists. That's super exciting. And really thinking back to about how art can create that awe and wonder, I think the promise of theme camps moving in this direction is that it's giving people the lived experience that they can take home. So I really appreciate that. And so now we're going to move over to our third realm of participant effort, which is mutant vehicles. Mutant vehicles are quintessentially Burning Man. And there's a really great Burning Man journal article that just came out talking about how mutant vehicles are part of that landscape. And so I'm going to hand this over to Chef Juke from our Burning Man user success team and a longtime member of the DMV Council.
Thanks, Breedlove. So, as noted, I'm Chef Juke with the Burning Man Department of Mutant Vehicles. And as I suspect most of you know, the DMV oversees the invitation and licensing of all the mutant vehicles that come to Burning Man each year. I've been volunteering with the DMV for 21 years as of this year. My volunteerism can now drink in most states. And over that time, I've connected with thousands of mutant vehicle creators. And I found them to be an amazing and varied group of innovative craftspeople who create incredible moving art pieces. But while these, the mutant vehicles are and have been an iconic part of the visual landscape of Burning Man since the move to the Black Rock Desert, they're not usually the first things folks think of when they think of sustainability, or if they come up in the conversation, probably not in a positive way. The primary concern, of course, is that the carbon footprint of a group of what traditionally has been primarily fossil-fueled vehicles. But that's starting to change. Now, prior to the pandemic, the DMV only tracked some basic information on each mutant vehicle's motor type. But over the last few years, as part of the sustainability efforts, we began focusing on capturing details related to the overall impact of each vehicle. With the help of the sustainability team at Burning Man Project, we began to track data such as what fuel each mutant vehicle used, how far they travel to get to Black Rock City and how they travel, what their average fuel consumption is, and more. And we've been using all of this data to help us better capture and calculate each vehicle's impact and the overall impact of all of the invited mutant vehicles. Now, one thing that this will help us track over time is how the power sources of mutant vehicles have been changing. And so this year, I'm going to share a little bit from on my screen. So this year, in looking at all of our invited mutant vehicles, the fuel types of the vehicles will break down to this. Gasoline, 476 vehicles, or 63% of the vehicles are running on standard gasoline. 97 of the vehicles, or 13%, are in diesel. And then we've got 98 vehicles are electric charged by generator. And one I'm kind of excited about is electric charged by renewables is 72 vehicles, or 9%, and other, which some of them are, well, we don't know. There are others, 2%, 17 vehicles. My favorite piece of data here is that the total of the two types of electric vehicles are 22%, 170 vehicles. Almost a quarter of the mutant vehicles we've invited this year are electric. And I think this is significant because this, even though we don't have the historical data going back further than last year, that's a lot different than it was when I first started coming to the playa. And hopefully that number is going to continue to grow. And when it comes to the vehicles themselves, we've seen that the mutant vehicle creators have been working on how to either make a more sustainable mutant vehicle to start with new vehicles coming in that are already electric, or modifying their existing vehicles to be more to a more sustainable powertrain. So on that note, I now want to introduce you to one of the mutant vehicle creators who's transitioned his mutant vehicle to a more sustainable system. So I'm going to introduce Harley Sither to tell you about his project.
All right. Hi, everyone. Harley Sither. I am a 26-year burner. I've been building art cars in various forms for 20 plus years, from teeny little vehicles all the way to big giant buses to the iteration that Chef Juke just talked about, which is behind me here. is an art car, Lemons into Lemonade, that we built in 2019, and it is fully electric. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about a couple key points around it, and hopefully some tips and tricks for people that might be interested in this. I am going to echo some of the other speakers and the challenges with, moving away from fossil fuels, particularly around upfront costs, maintenance, technology investment, expertise. It is not for the faint of heart, but since 2019, when we built this car, it has actually gotten significantly easier to do these kinds of projects. Couple key points I want to make about building an electric art car. First and foremost, this car, Lemons into Lemonade, did not start as a vision of, I want to have an electric art car. It was, I want to have an aesthetic experience of an old school art car where they're quiet, they're gentle, they're approachable. And I'd been turned off over, just giant art cars and art buses, belching diesel fuels and fumes. And I don't know, I just really had an aesthetic desire to create something smaller, more approachable, and just quiet, which is, electricity. It's very, very quiet. So that was really, and that's one of my key points I'll make here, was starting at the design phase. It is quite hard to retrofit an existing electric internal combustion vehicle or art car into something that's electric. Certainly can be done, but if you're going to take on building an electric art car, I strongly suggest working from the design phase and going forward. So we thought about our lighting, our sound requirements, how many people we wanted to transport. We tried to build something that was lightweight, so we didn't have a big carbon footprint going down from Seattle down to the playa. And then we obviously, as Chef Juke talked about, thought about how do we recharge this car? Because what's the point of having an electric art car apart from aesthetics if you're just plugging it into a belching generator, during the week? So Lemons into Lemonade started life as a 1984 Volkswagen Vanagon, which, as many of you know, is the ultimate lemon car. Those cars sucked. They still suck, although they're much beloved by many members of the community. And we shaved that down and we completely rebuilt the entire powertrain. We used a 48 volt electric motor, and we have 4 Model S Tesla modules buried in the kind of under the platform you see behind me that is powering that car. As Chef Juke said, I was surprised, to be honest, that there's 22% of the cars out there have some sort of electrification. It'd be interesting to cut that data by size, because as you get up into size, it is actually quite hard to move a lot of people with electricity only. But we're proud we can put about 20 to 25 people on our car, and with those Tesla modules, we get a lot of energy density to move that car around. So other things that I want to talk about, it's a bunch of trade-offs we had to make. We can't use our car 24/7. We kind of accepted that. We're with kids nowadays on the playa, which is a whole different experience burning with kids. So we are actually down oftentimes, overnight. We're taking breaks during the day. So we don't necessarily be needing to use our car 24/7 like we were doing in previous incarnations with previous art cars. We also didn't have a need for huge sound or light. That was also driven by aesthetics too. The design of the car, we wanted something very subtle, very low key. So that was a very good fit for electrical as well. If you're trying to drive giant sound and light shows, Mind Warrior-esque kind of systems, it's going to be really hard to do that without giant electrical packs. And then, the big thing for us was cost. As the SOLARPUNKS team talked about, huge upfront costs in doing these projects. Like, had we just kept the internal combustion components, would have been hundreds of dollars. Unfortunately, the cost of the batteries, the powertrain, all the engineering, it was several thousands of dollars. Probably, honestly, like if you're doing an art car, you can't count how expensive they are. You just can't get wrapped up into that. But it's quite an expensive upfront cost. But the other thing that we have noticed, and this was a fascinating data point, was the total cost of ownership of the car is significantly lower than previous art cars. We've seen the amount of maintenance we have to do on the car to almost zero. And this was proven out over COVID, where, you know, we had the car out in 2019, we brought it back to Seattle, put it under wraps for almost 2 years, didn't touch the car. 2022 rolls around, we decide we're going to bring it out, we go to start it up. The thing started up like a dream. Internal combustion, that would have never happened. And then the ongoing maintenance we've had to do in the car is very, very low. So it is, you know, art cars can be electric, and it's really encouraging to see 22% of folks doing that. We get asked a lot about how do you charge the car, and we do use a small diesel generator. I'm proud to say in 2019, we used 6 gallons of fuel. In 2022, we were under 3 gallons of fuel. We did reverse calculations on what it would have taken to power this car as an internal combustion, and we would have been well into 5, 6, 7 times that amount of fuel consumption. This year, we are really trying hard to bring out a battery bank with a solar array to make this car 100% renewable. Again, there's more significant upfront cost to that. So we're gonna, you know, I was fascinated on these battery packs that SOLARPUNKS had. Be really fun to go out with one of those and see if we can sort of leverage that. You do have the problem, though, of it's hard to charge the car while you're driving it. You know, those battery banks and solar arrays got to live at your camp, and then when do you plug it in? So lots of great thinking, lots of amazing art cars out there that are doing cool electrical stuff. If a Mutant vehicle is your passion and you want to do it, I really do believe these are, you know, there's been a tipping point in the last couple of years, and small scale art cars can be really electrical. They're beautiful to walk alongside because they're not stinky and smelly. They're super fun to drive because late night out on the playa, all you hear are the crunching of the wheels, or the wheels crunching in the playa. So it can be done. Feel free, you know, I think there was a link was sent out, or there's a recent Burning Man journal article about this art car. You read all about it. Anyone can reach out to me for technology tips on how to do this. I'm fortunate in that I own an auto shop, so I was actually able to leverage tremendous resources for doing this. But I do think art cars, if you can, it's a symbolic win. You know, we're not going to tip the carbon offset of Burning Man just by converting all the art cars. But as I think it was Mia said earlier, just the inspiration that the art has on people. And when people come up to us on Playa and be like, why is this car so quiet? And we're like, well, it's electric. It's just so inspiring to people. And it really encourages them to expand their thinking about what's possible. And so that is how we see this car and some of the other electric cars pushing the edges and boundaries there. So that's my story. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. It's been a joy to, you know, push the envelope with electric cars out on the playa. And again, anyone can reach out to me and ask for tips and tricks on doing this. So I want to be mindful of the time. Thank you, Chef Juke. And thank you, Matt, for the opportunity to speak on the call. Art cars are super near and dear to me, as is Burning Man. So this has been a real privilege. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Harley. That's super exciting to see what you're building there. And I really appreciate your reminder to also celebrate the small. Sometimes the more intimate experience is just as special, if not more so, and also reminding us that the aesthetic and the experience can actually drive our gears towards sustainability. It doesn't always have to be coming from a climate model. So thanks so much. All right, so now we're going to move. We went from Black Rock City, which is kind of the most central kind of organizational principle, out into this participant base. And now we're going to go out into the larger circle of Northern Nevada. And I think that sometimes the legend of Black Rock City is that it's in the middle of nowhere, but honestly, it's in the middle of somewhere very much. We have a lot of neighbors. We have a lot of both human and animals. And we're part of a larger ecosystem out there. And so I am excited to hand this off to Marnee Benson, our Director of Government Affairs, to tell us what's going on in Northern Nevada.
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Breedlove. Today, I want to focus on the importance of community and government relations in our collective sustainability efforts. These environmental efforts are often innovative, and different compared to existing practices, technology, and expectations. Proposals can be met with initial resistance when change is on the menu. When we look at the partnership between Fly Ranch and the Land Art Generator Initiative, for example, we see incredible innovation in the designs of these projects. But we ask, is Washoe County ready for this kind of innovation? Will the Gerlach community embrace these changes? How do the cultural and ancestral stewards of these lands feel about the diversity of structures being built? These are the questions we need to ask as we forge ahead and bring people along. The process of engagement and inclusivity that has been undertaken through the Fly Ranch Design Challenge is commendable. Matt and his team, with Robert and Elizabeth, invited a broad range of technical advisors and jurors to participate and weigh in. People are going to Fly Ranch to spend time and learn and to contribute knowledge. It felt and still does feel very much like a team effort where different perspectives are welcome and valued. Community members, subject matter experts, Indigenous Americans, public officials, and many others are involved and supportive of this work to bring creative minds from around the world to our high desert to create beautiful, sustainable solutions to environmental challenges. Ripple is one of the logging projects being built at Fly Ranch, and they already have an exemplary track record of collaboration and respect with the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. Listening to the preferences and desires of the tribe, working side by side to create positive change where it's helpful. And while I have a moment, I'm going to ask Molly to drop into the chat a link, and I'd like to invite you to read our recent interview with the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe Chairman, Phoenix. Another area of innovation is our 360 property north of Gerlach, where Burning Man isn't content to settle for traditional urban infrastructure. Instead, we're building a cultural destination from the ground up. We're including systems like DryVac, a cutting-edge drying and dewatering system owned by an individual, not a corporation. DryVac is a closed-loop wastewater system that is our preferred option over traditional sewer and septic. We want to demonstrate that this technology can work and thrive in the high desert. And we want to help other areas of rural Nevada by navigating the complicated, time-consuming maze of permits and permissions necessary to install contemporary systems like this. We rely on the decision makers at the state and county to understand the benefits and operational complexities and to green light our hopes and dreams. These relationships are critical. The 360 will bring change to Gerlach, and because we know that change impacts small communities, and those changes must include the community. We have held town hall style meetings in Gerlach to share our plans and get input from residents. We're holding another meeting, in fact, later this month. I want to stress how important it is to engage the community, to share your plans for the future and listen, really listen to their ideas and concerns. In this way, you can galvanize support, minimize conflict, and create shared understanding. You will find people raising their hands to help. In these examples, we have to realize the importance of local stakeholders and the government agencies in charge of allowing projects to move forward. With state and county agencies, oftentimes they are seeing proposals like this for the first time. We're fortunate that the state of Nevada and Washoe County leadership and the city of Reno have embraced Burning Man and want to see our ideas come to fruition. It does also happen that different departments can see hurdles instead of opportunities. Your ideas might not fit neatly into an existing regulatory framework, and the box may need to be redrawn. This is the work of government relations, planning, and permitting to bring new ideas to those who may be reluctant to go the extra mile or out on a limb, and to ensure together that new projects see the light of day. Some may not think this is the sexiest work, but this is an important part of what's needed to change the world. Skills that are very transferable to greenlighting an annual pop-up city of 80,000 dreamers in the middle of the desert. And I think that's the perfect segue to introduce our next speaker. Brian Beffort is Washoe County's sustainability manager and a friend. Brian brings more than 2 decades of experience and expertise in organizational leadership, community and stakeholder engagement, and strategic planning to his work, and a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. He holds a professional sustainability certificate from the Global Reporting Initiative and a Master of Arts in Sustainability Environmental Management from Harvard University. Brian was the director of the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter and spent years developing and implementing the goals of organizations like Friends of Nevada Wilderness, Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, and the Great Basin Institute. He's a journalist and author featuring his work and exploration of Nevada's great outdoors. And he's recently been persuaded, it didn't take much to be honest, he's also a burner, to work with us here at Burning Man to advance our shared economic development, community resiliency, and environmental sustainability goals. Please welcome Brian Beffort. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Marnee. Thank you very much. Give me a second. I need to share the screen and I need to start the presentation. Thank you everyone for your patience. Thank you, everyone. Can you see the presentation and hear me?
Looks good.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. This community is a beautiful thing. Love Burning Man. It changed my life. I'm sure many of you can say the same thing. And I think what makes it most beautiful is the creativity and innovation that you bring to solving challenges in the world, and we need that more than ever. I could gush a lot, but I have a lot to present and my time is short. So I'm going to share a lot of information. And if anyone wants to follow up with me, please let me know in the future. For those of you who don't know, Washoe County is the home to most of your Burning Man experience in terms of travel, from Reno and Sparks all the way up to just a few miles past Gerlach before you hit the playa. We are Washoe County. Washoe County, I'm proud of the county for fiscal year 24. We have made getting to net zero by 2050 a goal. And so I will be leading the conversations here at the county to help us get there, both with county operations and community-wide. We all know if you don't measure, you can't manage. We're really proud of our relationship with N0, which is a real-time energy and emissions tracking software company based here in Reno, same building as Burning Man. And this is just a screenshot of some of our energy use and energy bills from our facilities. And what that does is it helps us identify where we can start making reductions to meet our goals and to create interim targets. Our task is to have a draft of that plan by the end of this calendar year, with the fleshed out plan by the end of the fiscal year, which ends next June. To follow up on what Autumn Harry said earlier, one of the best ways to ditch fossil fuels, in my opinion, is through conservation and energy efficiency. So it's our goal to create buildings and systems that need less energy to begin with. And so we can minimize the impact on indigenous lands and fragile habitats as we're trying to transition, although I like what Xtina said, to ditch fossil fuels. I'm also really proud of the county for spending some time thinking about this work during COVID. The county just unleashed, and there's a link you can drop in the chat, and to our green recovery plan. And this was a plan that was written by county leadership during COVID, thinking about how are we going to set ourselves up to be resilient so we can be better prepared for the next crisis that comes along. And climate change and greenhouse gas emissions were a big part of that. I'm just going to give you a quick tour of some of the things that we have going on at the county level. So of course we have the greenhouse gas reduction goals. You can see a few things there. Our GHG inventory and reduction plan, trying to improve the uptake of solar and other renewable energy in the county. We also have a goal to improve transportation, to get off fossil fuels, to make things more accessible to more people, to strengthen food security, and in whether that's in master plan to help improve more local energy food production here in the county, but to expand the access, right, to minimize food insecurity and expand the access for those who don't otherwise have access to healthy food, such as at local corner markets and places like that. And I'm really excited to be working on expanding our community garden program. We will also be launching an urban forestry program here just to help improve the local canopy. We all love trees, lots of reasons why they're good things. We hope to be planting a whole lot more of them. And Gerlach is one of our places of attention. So this is a photo from Arbor Day on April 28th, when we gave away 25 free trees to folks in town, and planted a couple trees there at the park by the water tower. And we look forward to working with folks to expand that tree canopy in the future. I think one of the things I'm most excited about is that the county and other partners were an application called Team Climate Resilient Gerlach was chosen by the Department of Energy in the Energizing Rural Communities Prize as one of 67 demonstration projects across the country. So the prize comes with $100,000 to support a team to envision and design a pathway to net zero greenhouse gas emissions for Gerlach by 2050. This is just a list of the team, and I'm really proud that we are including everyone from local governments, the people of Gerlach, Nevada Energy, which is the major utility provider, Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at UNR, of course, Burning Man, and Zero, those emission trackers I mentioned earlier, and you. And really, you folks are an important part of this, right? As you're traveling through Washoe County, you're bringing that innovation, that creativity, and we need to crowdsource solutions. Please don't wait for your leaders on high to mandate things. You can all see how slow that's going. We need to do more than survive. We need to thrive. And if anyone knows how to do that in harsh conditions, it's you folks. And if you're here, you're already contributing. And so I really appreciate that. My ask of you is to figure out how you can expand your circle of influence and inspire and empower others to do the same. And then finally, I'm going to make an elections pitch. It matters. Elections matter. The reason my position exists is because we had elected leaders in the past who thought this was a priority and a good use of taxpayer dollars. But that's not always guaranteed moving forward. And just an example of that, Nevada's Governor Lombardo just recently pulled Nevada out of the U.S. Climate Alliance. And this threatens to slow our progress. So wherever you can, whenever you can, please influence your leaders. And other than that, I'll leave it at that. And I look forward to working with everyone, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Look forward to working with you more. Next up, we have Happy Pigeon, a heavy equipment operator, bike repair mechanic, enthusiastic human who is supporting Fly Ranch. And we'll talk a little more about our next speaker. Happy Pigeon.
Thanks, Matt. Howdy. My name is Xulia Suero, also known as Happy Pigeon. I'm a conservationist by trade and currently stationed at Fly Ranch. This ranch is found on the original homelands of the New Moon. As the current stewards of this property, it is our honor to tend to the community, flora, and fauna that call this region home. Fly Ranch is an illustrious example of what Burning Man is. In 2023 alone, Fly Ranch has received over 11,000 volunteer hours to power the Family and Friends Campout, Fly Guardians, and Nature Walks. This is a powerful demonstration of the community's desire to see Fly Ranch prosper. With over 300 identified species of animals and plants, Fly Ranch has become a point of interest for world-class scientists and artists. Over the past few years, we have seen great ideas like the Land Art Generator Initiative take root at Fly Ranch. We are a host of 10 Lagi prototypes that have demonstrated the human's ability and desire to re-examine art and technology through the lens of regenerative ecology. The moment we give space for the land to speak and allow ourselves the opportunity to listen, we will find ourselves in the company of abundance and prosperity. But words and good intentions can only go so far. In this reality, we need heavy hitters to keep this operation going. And luckily, we don't have to look far because we have found a champion in Danny Kaufman. Thank you, Danny, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Xulia, and thank you so much for what you're doing with Fly Ranch. Hey, everyone. Good to see you all here. My name is Danny Kaufman. I'm Burning Man's Director of Philanthropic Engagement. I'm calling in from the Bay Area, and I'm thrilled to be sharing a progress update on Fly Ranch, the Land Art Generator Initiative Design Challenge, and how you can be involved in turning the inspiring Lagi projects in our top 10 designs into a reality. I'll go ahead and share my screen here so you all can follow along. All right, so before diving into the updates, I'd like to give us some context on the background of Fly Ranch. In the early years of Burning Man, our founders had a dream of one day owning their own slice of the Black Rock Desert. They wanted to create a home base where the heart of our culture was birthed and to experiment with new ways of gathering, not just once a year, but to put into place an anchor where we could express our culture all year round. The dream of Fly Ranch crystallized at Burning Man in 1997 when the event was held at Fly Ranch. Pictured here is Ray Sereno's Water Woman that year, taken by Burning Man founder Michael. In 2016, this vision became a reality when our 14 Fly founding donors came together to purchase the 3,800-acre property. And just in case you're wondering, we no longer swim in the springs with this many people or put art in them, but we do offer weekly nature walks to Fly Ranch hosted by Friends of Black Rock High Rock. If you haven't been, I highly encourage you to check these out. The emergent vision at Fly is the prototype Burning Man culture, sustainability, and innovation year-round. The mission of those who are deeply involved is to steward the land and help others get involved. Our goals over the next 3 years are to build the Lagi projects, support year-round participant organized programs, and evolve our Friends and Family Weekends into green burns. At its best, Fly is an incubator for Black Rock City, Burning Man culture, and sustainability. As Marian, our fearless CEO, wrote in our 2019 annual report, our work at Fly sparked the 2030 Sustainability Roadmap. Informed by our stewardship of the land and waters at Fly Ranch and the global climate crisis, we created an environmental sustainability roadmap that sets ambitious goals around waste management, ecological impact, and carbon sequestration. Since publishing our sustainability roadmap in 2019, these goals have become a priority across our organization, operations, and at BRC. Fly is a living embodiment of Burning Man and the sustainability roadmap, happening 365 days a year. Now, let's take a look at some of the accomplishments we've had so far this year at Fly Ranch. We hosted between 60 to 250 visitors per week for 32 weeks on volunteer-led projects. We Marie Kondoed the land, including cleaning up 3 landfills, oil tanks, and thousands of pieces of moop across dozens of acres. We hosted 51 nature walks, weekly labyrinth walks, and weekly Sunday staff soaks, thanks to our incredible volunteers. We hosted 8 stewardship weekends and 2 events, the BWB Summit and the BioBlitz, which documented 15 new plants, 3 new snails, 2 new beetles, and 24 new government stewards of Fly Ranch. 600 people from over 150 countries visited our website weekly at flyranch.org. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. Volunteers clocked in an estimated 11,440 hours, as we just heard, so far this year alone, to campouts, guardianships, and walks. We brought 40 cubic yards of compost from BRC to Fly, and we did all of this on less than $500,000 of a budget. It goes without saying that these These impressive accomplishments are the result of the incredible community of stewards in Nevada and around the world who volunteer their time and resources to sustain and support this incredible project. Thanks for all that you all do. I want to shift our focus now onto the Land Art Generator Design Challenge and how we got here. We started LAGGY before the pandemic. Our collaboration grew from one of our 2018 campouts where the founders of LAGGY attended. The collaboration came to life in 2020 when we put a call out to our broader community to submit designs at the intersection of power, water, shelter, food, and regeneration. To our surprise and delight, we received more than 185 proposals from around the world and had a team of 200 plus volunteer technical advisors and 33 jurors evaluating the various designs. The result was a short list of 55 projects and 10 finalists from across the globe, each of whom received $15,000 for their initial prototype. So now let's take a look at our top 10 LAGGY finalist projects. First up is Lodgers. Created by a team of MIT architects, Lodgers is rooted in innovations for shelter and regeneration. Its design aims to minimize humans' impact on the environment and build symbiotic relationships between humans, plants, and animals. The Loop is a filtration system for poop and pee and a healing center. It was created by a group of burners deeply involved with the Borderland regional event in Sweden. They've already built out a prototype of their fly idea. And pictured here is the Loop team planting a 21-foot cottonwood tree at one of our LAGGY campouts in June of 2021. Seed addresses all 5 design criteria: habitation, food, water, waste, and power. This team is led by Colin O'Donnell and a group of builders and designers from around California. They plan to build sunken gardens and earth homes using the ambient temperature of the ground and gathering places for community. You can see here's a group of folks walking through a lovely prototype of a sunken garden that Seed built during the 2022 LAGGY campout with adobe bricks, drip systems, and trees. Ripple is a regeneration station for native plants. They are a team now of 50 people based out of Maryland. Their 2 leads, Jacob and Matt, lived at Fly Ranch for 8 months in 2022 while they were building this out. In 2021, Ripple built an ethnobotanical garden of 80 plants in collaboration with the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe Museum. This picture shows a golden shovel ceremony of the 2 leads from Ripple, Billie Jean Guerrero, the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe Museum and Visitor Center, and Janet Davis, the tribal chairwoman. Part of their project is to build a seed bank at Fly Ranch where they will use the science, plants, and lessons they learned at Fly Ranch. Another top team, the Source, relies on an old French technique to use rammed earth to protect an area to start an orchard. Nexus, a team out of the UK, uses ferrock to build shelter. Ferrock is a sustainable alternative to concrete that absorbs CO2 through the curing process of building components. It is a stronger, more flexible, and more durable than cement. And they're currently testing out compositions to see what will work best. This is a picture from their team lead, Antonia, who visited Fly Ranch from London in October 22 during one of our stewardship weekends. She built a few smaller prototypes at Fly to see how they will hold up to the elements, then built larger ones in London. She and her team will come out to Fly this October once again. Coyote Mountain is a team composed of 4 women. They propose a community center with incredible technical systems. The design itself was inspired by the shape of the coyote in the sagebrush found at Fly Ranch. Mountains of Water proposes a water management system based on the Numu, the Northern Paiute approach, which is to look at everything as a garden. The intention behind the project is to treat all the land with reverence. In addition to their physical project, they also propose a cultural and decision-making process for how this water is managed. And pictured here are Deo and Javier, 2 of their team members from Spain who visited Fly from France for the LAGGY campout. Solar Mountain was proposed by Nuru Karim, an architect based out of Mumbai. The project is a model of how to incorporate solar solutions in an interactive and creative design. He visited Fly Ranch during the LAGGY 2022 campout, where he made a 3D model and flagged the site he'd like to use. And our final top 10 finalist project is Vale, a sunken greenhouse proposed by Jameson Pye. Jameson had not been to Fly Ranch or BRC when he entered the contest. He entered our LAGGY campout in 2021 and started planning his prototype there. So since these designs came out, we've seen a lot of great press coverage, including being featured in Forbes, Interesting Engineering, and MIT News. The Lodgers team actually spent 9 months at MIT on the proposal, also part of their master's proposal with 2 professors. They've now gone on to build 2 real-world prototypes, one at an MIT gallery and one at the Lisbon Architectural Triennale. Z, one of their leads, is also now a professor at Rice University and will bring a class out in May to fly to build animal habitat. We've also made LAGI site maps, first for our design guidelines and then based on where the teams place themselves in the application process. These site maps are ongoing and evolving. On the whole, we anticipate primitive camping in the events in the southern portion, experimentation operations in the middle, and restoration and conservation in the north above the geyser. And last but not least, we published a beautiful book, Land Art of the 21st Century, capturing the inspiring and innovative LAGI designs. The book features a short list of 55 LAGI projects along with our top 10 finalists. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend finding a copy online. So if you are inspired by these incredible designs, please consider making a donation to help bring them to life. Our goal over the next year is to raise $3 million by 2024 to build prototypes of the top 10 LAGI design projects, with the goal of awarding $250,000 to each team. Some teams, such as Ripple, will be able to build their entire projects with these funds. Others, such as Seed, will build fully functional versions of their projects, scaled prototypes, and raise the funds needed to build for full builds later on. The remaining $500,000 will be used for infrastructure expenses such as power, housing, and water to enable teams to work on-site for extended periods of time. If you would like to make a donation, you can donate online at donate.burningman.org or send us an email at giving@burningman.org for more information about these projects. I'd like to wrap up here with a quote from Burning Man's original instigator and visionary, Larry Harvey, on the importance of nature and Fly Ranch. Larry said, "A place where humans can participate with nature, really learn to work and create together, that Fly Geyser is, after all, human-initiated natural beauty. As the LAGI designs reflect, it is our intention to overlay this magical landscape with human-initiated designs that take into consideration the well-being, not just of humans and community, but of the local animals, the flora and the fauna, and the broader ecosystem that makes this land so special." Thanks again for joining today's call and for all that you are doing and have done to help make these projects possible over the many years. I sincerely hope you will join us as we continue to prototype the LAGI projects on Fly Ranch and work towards Burning Man's broader sustainability goals to be carbon negative by 2030. Now it's my pleasure to pass it along to our Director of Civic Activation, Christopher Breedlove. Breedlove, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Danny boy. Really appreciate that. Super inspiring stuff happening out in Northern Nevada. And we do know that it's only through collaboration with our stakeholders and our neighbors that we're going to be able to hit these goals. And just a quick shout out, if you want to visit Fly, you can always visit those nature walks on the weekends. And once a month, they do have the stewardship campouts. And so now we're going to go to wrap up this call. And I'm going to hand it off to someone who I am continually learning about the nuance on the long arc of community, organizational, and cultural development. Marian Goodell, our CEO, our cultural founder, one of our cultural founders, and also the jackrabbit herself. Marian, thanks so much for being an advocate for this work and for being with us today.
Well, it's lovely to be here, Christopher Breedlove. Thank you, everybody, for all the fascinating information. It was really a joy to sit here on this entire call. I've never sat through one of these entire calls before. I've reviewed post-event reports and statistics, and I thought it was really an enjoyable way to spend the last bit of time. And I'm really proud of everything that's happening here. One of the reasons why I wanted to sit through and really experience was to really admire and to soak in all of the progress. I certainly was one of the 60 people that looked over the original 2030 roadmap. A part of the story that Matt Sundquist doesn't tell very often is he drafted it and probably pressured me into reviewing it for at least 6 months before I did. And I feel like part of the joy is really recognizing that something that seemed like a far-fetched, hat over the fence sort of idea, really with community participation. And I didn't have to worry about the organization holding all the pieces together, that by just talking about it would actually bring people into the circle and get excited about working together to make change. And there's incredible change that's happened, incredibly different groups that have come together. It's really interesting to see all of the meeting chat and the various ways in which people are anxious and they want things done now, and other people are really excited because there's movement being made. And I really feel like that's why it's a 10-year plan. You know, it's meant to be a deliberate and cautious way of how we look at things. And some places we're going to move faster. We'll have the resources, the money, and the inspiration and the technology. And in other places, we'll move along with our ideas just a little ahead of the technology or our capacity. So I just want to really thank everybody that came here today, and for all the presenters and all the community groups and all of the parts of the Burning Man community. There are people from all over the world. I saw you, Misha, coming in from Prague, and many other, New Zealand, I saw you on earlier. And this is a global problem. It's a global crisis. Burning Man wants to be a player in the solution. And we all know that what we bring to Black Rock City, we actually learn to take home with us. So congratulations to everybody who was here, and all the groups, the Rats and the Blasts, and the Green Theme Camp Corridor at Burning Man, and all of the work at Fly and Loggy. It makes me really proud to be part of this organization and to be affiliated with all of you. And I look forward to seeing you on the playa. I'm excited to explore the Green Theme Camp Corridor. What a really cool place to show the innovation and the ideas. And I look forward to the work that we can do between now and next year. It'll be great to see the changes we've made between now and then. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Marian. Really appreciate the encouragement and also, again, that kind of longer vision that you're holding around all of this. And so this is kind of where we are wrapping up our call. You know, we are 4 years in to a 10-year roadmap, and so much has happened, but we also still have so long to go. And so really, this is the call for participation out to you and out to your communities to join us in these goals. We know that while we heard a lot of stories here, there's a lot more out there, and we'd really love to know what you're up to. So you can always email us at sustainability@burningman.org. You can also look up our sustainability page on our website. You know, and along with this, I think in the call for participation, we need to remember that this isn't just focused on Black Rock City. It's about taking these lessons and bringing them home as well. You know, we already see regional communities and regional events out there picking up this work. Recently, both SOAK in Portland and Apogea in Colorado have been interested in building their own sustainability communities. We're also seeing events like Borderlands in the Nordic region, Africa Burn in South Africa, and Bequinox in LA, getting and purchasing their own land. And so they're looking at the long-term ramifications that they can do by building their events on land they own. And so really, this is a call to not only get involved with us, but get involved with your local regional community, get involved with your local Burners Without Borders chapter. There's a lot of things you can do out there, because what I think we're all working towards is that more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. So thanks so much. Again, I'm Christopher Breedlove. I just want to give a quick shout out. Thank you to all of our speakers for being here today. You guys are all super inspirational. And thank you also to the behind the scenes folks who are also making this whole call happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Katz, Heist, Devin from the Internet, Molly Vickert, Chris Christensen. And if I forgot you, I apologize. You know, thanks so much, everybody. And let's keep on doing this work. It's good work.